Well, I was just going to go back to the schedule for a second. If we do get through this, our hope is that we get back as close to as normal as possible. I don't think any of us will ever expect to be, ever expect things to be like they were pre-pandemic. I think that we all are going to have to approach our lives differently and going forward. But there is a new schedule for next year. How much? And there's a lot of new things on the horizon. The new car that's been delayed, unfortunately. But how much of that stuff are you guys able to put any focus on? And also, does this schedule this season present opportunities for you guys to learn the potential of what that schedule could be going forward in 2021? Midweek races, stuff like that. Will you take some notes from what you learn here to devise that new schedule?
Yeah, I think it's a couple different things. The short answer is yes. So we actually had a conversation last week with O'Donnell and Ben Kennedy around the 2021 schedule, because we gotta get going. And so there are things that we're having discussions on right now, which seems odd because we're still trying to figure out the 2020 schedule.
Right.
All these things are, kind of wrapped up and moving forward. So we've started those things. And then as it relates to learnings that we have, I think there are learnings that we can have on a lot of different fronts, not just on things like, potentially doubleheaders, because we're supposed to have one doubleheader and it was at Pocono this year.
Right.
But can you do a Wednesday night race? Does it work? Can you load in quickly? Kind of load in, load out, slightly shorter race potentially. I think the answer is yes. Not just from the schedule standpoint, but, do you need to, I don't know the answer to this. Do you need to practice 3 times and have qualifying? Do you do it over a period of 3 days, or do you shorten all of that as well because you can? Those are things that we'll study and we'll look at it, industry wide. What things are just not necessary moving forward, and I think that's what we need to try to get at. And so I think there will be a lot of learnings that we'll have. You also have to look at it and make sure that you're not looking at it. That first Wednesday night race that we have at Darlington, it's probably going to do a real big television number, right? Because people are bored, and it's cool to, hey, we're in a really cool idea to race, on a Wednesday night. That may not look the same,
a year from
next year on a Wednesday night, right? Because you've got other sports and other opportunities. Just have to be cautious about how we're looking at it. But I think there are some really interesting and unique ideas that people are trying to develop that make this thing work.
That's interesting too. So if everything goes as planned and we're into August, September, November, every sport in the world, every sport that's going to go, from start to finish, from February to December, is going to cram into the fall. What challenges does that present for NASCAR to have to sort of, stake their claim to a little bit of that territory when every sport that we know is going to be happening all at once?
Right.
Yeah, I think the good thing for us is because we were first, I believe we got to NBC and Fox sooner than any of their other sports. And so we're able to secure windows as quickly as, more quickly than anyone else. So yes, there'll be increased competition most likely as the fall gets just crammed with sports. But the first and most important thing for us is to make sure that we had those television windows that were secured. And then, from there, I do think that we're going to take a lot of these fans with us. So once they learn about our racing, they see how competitive it is and how cool it is, and the storylines and our drivers, athletes, our crews, all of it that makes us who we are, we're going to keep people into the fall. We're going to keep people into next year. We're going to keep people, going into the Daytona 500 next year that wouldn't have even considered us the Daytona 500, this past, earlier this year. When you consider, 1.5 million new people watch iRacing that had never watched a NASCAR event, that's insane.
Yeah.
1.5 million, and a lot of them were younger. And so as these storylines have developed with some of these, drivers, that will be on the racetrack or in the booth, it's like, oh, cool. I know that guy from iRacing. And well, this is a lot cooler than iRacing because, they're actually in real cars. And there's obviously a danger element to it. And all of that makes kind of the sights and sounds of who we are as a sport.
Well, would you agree that NASCAR, of all the other sports, and I think timing might have played a big part in it as well, because, you got the other sports that aren't even in season, but it feels like NASCAR it has been the most opportunistic given the bad situation. And iRacing is one such way, but also you getting back and us being able to get back in. I mean, and then what you're talking about, I mean, would you agree that that the sport that you preside over has been able to rise up and make the most of an opportunity when otherwise it would be just really bad?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. You look at the iRacing and all the other sports when we started the iRacing piece, and I think this, all the top esports on television are now ours. So every race we run, we are then the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, esports in the country, and we will be again from this past weekend at Dover. So that part's really cool. Do we have a competitive advantage? Yeah, we had a competitive advantage that they had this great, platform out there, and the iRacing guys have done phenomenal job, and how lifelike it is at Dover and it was at Talladega, and just incredible. And so NASCAR gets, applauded for being geniuses. It's like, that was done 10 years ago, right? We're just fortunate to be able to take advantage of it today and give the fans and new fans and, kind of avid fans alike an opportunity to see some racing, right? To see some cars on the racetrack, even if they're virtual. And then you look at kind of our, kind of traveling circus and the fact that, most of the people who are working at the racetrack already have protective equipment on. And so it's really, unlike the NBA, I had a conversation with the deputy commissioner a couple of weeks ago, Mark Tatum, and he said, we got a bunch of guys, banging in each other, exchanging bodily fluids, and it's tough, right? For us, our guys everyone already has a helmet on, right? Or, protective clothing, and those that don't will. And so for us, we have another competitive advantage. There are other times that we don't have a competitive advantage, right? So if you're Major League Baseball and you've got, 81 home games and you're trying to have a bunch of content out there of live games, typically that's a great thing for them and a competitive advantage that they have. Now, trying to get all those games scheduled now, maybe not. That makes it a lot more difficult, right? So we all come to one place and, we're there, we race, and then we leave, right? You don't have, to go to another city, to another town and play that team and potentially infect them. And it's just, we have a more controlled environment. A lot of people work in the events, but a controlled environment.
Well, Steve, we really appreciate you giving us some time today. And we know you got a lot of things to get back to. And we appreciate the hard work that you put into running our sport and trying to make all the best decisions that you can for us. I think that as a team owner, our employees, everybody really appreciates it because I know that you make a lot of decisions on our behalf. And we think you're doing an amazing job. We can't wait to get back to the racetrack and see you, buddy.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. And thanks for your time, guys.
Yes,
it's nice
sir.
to be on with you guys again.
It is.
Hopefully we'll be back racing soon and appreciate all you guys do to make sure that, I know a lot of people watch this and they're entertained, they're starved for something that, is unique and different. You guys always put on a great show, and look forward to seeing you guys back at the racetrack, at least, hopefully soon anyway.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
All right,
Take
guys.
care, bud.
Take care. See ya.